Yeah, I'm starting to feel it's done. I'm starting to feel that Ferrari could just go on holiday for Zandvoort, pack up the bags, have a nice time abroad. I mean, their strategists have been doing that for the last 3 months anyway,
and they're still doing it, mate.
They're still doing it. Still did it today. Yeah, it's rough. I think at this point, Verstappen does have an unassailable lead. Perez can't really match him consistently. He did at the start of the season, but on a consistent basis, it's not happening. Ferrari just keep tripping over themselves as well. And
I said for any opportunity for Leclerc to have still some kind of opportunity of winning this title, he needed Mercedes, because they're the nearest team, they're third quickest team, needed Mercedes to step up. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of talk before Spa about flexi floors and this kind of, extra porpoising kind of management to make sure the skid plates are measured more strictly now, so that you're not, putting the driver's safety at risk ultimately. And there was a lot of hope, I think, not just externally, internally. Like Lewis talked about, he was hopeful they'd be like close, and they were nowhere near in qualifying. In the race, the pace was good. Obviously, we didn't see too much from Lewis. It was okay. George still wasn't on the podium, so it wasn't anything that's going to take points away from Max, and that's the problem.
That's what
Charles needs. That, and it's not happening.
I think obviously there's been a multitude of factors for Ferrari this season. Like ultimately, Charles has made his own mistakes as well. He'll admit that. France, for example, was a big loss. I mean, I think Verstappen probably had the pace to win that Grand Prix, but in the end, Leclerc at least threw away 18 points at the very least in that situation. And you can't... I said this at the start of the year. I think it was after, I want to say Spain, which was like problem 2 of the whole year. And it was like, you can't keep doing this. You can't throw away more than 2 Grand Prix and win the championship. And since then, they've thrown away a good 3, 4 maybe, and multiple points,
It's frustrating. And as well, when it comes to mistakes, they are very much measured by their outcome. Mm-hmm. So, Max did do that little spin at Hungary, right? Yeah. The full 360, cracked on, still won the race.
Really stylish as well. I'd give it at least a 9.
It was finesse points off. Like you had Spain as well, where he went wide, same place where Carlos went over the gravel, but carried on and managed to score like good points that weekend. So, the mistakes that Charles has had, look, we saw it, we saw it today. I mean, you're watching this Tuesday, but we're filming this just after the Grand Prix. Charles getting a 5-second time penalty for speeding, which you can't put on Ferrari. Like, you can put on Ferrari, then pitted him for fastest lap, but that's not that out of the ordinary.
Honestly, I think that summed up, that actually, I've just realised I had an epiphany. That summed up all of Ferrari's problems the whole year. So obviously the first thing, the strategy, someone in the team had to look and go, lads, I'm not going to lie, he's less than 20 seconds ahead of Alonso. This might be a bit of a risk here. He's not going to get out ahead of him and get the fastest lap, right? Yeah. So that's the strategy team. The actual team had to go, I'm not being funny, lads, he's not got the pace. We were about a second away from Verstappen the whole time. Is this going to happen? And then Leclerc himself coming in, getting a 5-second penalty for speed in the pit lane.
Well, it wasn't what the difference in points between 5th and 6th is 2. Yeah, it's 1 extra point for fastest lap.
And he didn't even get fastest lap. This is the best part of it all.
Did you not even get fastest? And you had earlier in the weekend as well, you had what? Which, you might say this is minor. You might say it's not a big deal, but, putting Leclerc onto fresh softs just to give Sainz a toe.
Makes no sense, yeah.
Rather than scrubbed. Like, it's just little things like that are... They demonstrate a broader issue. And you like to think, we went away for the summer break, there was all this, heat on Ferrari and Matteo Binotto, because ultimately he is the man at the top of that tree. And when you talk about business, culture and business performance, it doesn't matter what industry it is, you have to start at the top. And for them to, do you see the stuff? Like, he's like, oh, there's nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong. Yeah.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing, which is true, right? And I think there are certain instances where, teams can make the right decision on paper at the time, but they're so like putting Leclerc on those hards. Everyone I knew watching was like, what are you doing? Apart from the people in charge. Like, how long can this go? Like, when do you get to a stage where your Ferrari top personnel have to step in? I don't know. Like, this is just because the damage this is doing, like, Ferrari are a joke right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they are.
Yeah, they're a laughing stock. And it's really harsh to say, obviously, because like, you know, it's not like they're not working hard, but people are just consistently overlooking important decisions. For races. Honestly, Hungary is the worst strategy. I don't think we can even call it a strategy. It was just a series of decisions. In that race.
You know what annoys me though is like all this work's gone into producing this really good racing car. Really good racing car. But that's not enough. You can't just have a great car. You have to have a driver who can extract performance. You have to have a strategy team who can deliver. You have to have a pit stop team who do bits. Like it all has to come together. And I talked about this on the stream. It's a team sport. And all of those things have to fall into line. And I think it was easy to look at Mercedes' dominance, 8 constructors titles and, it's just the car, or, it's, it's easy for Lewis, blah, blah, blah. No, I think we're seeing now that it's not easy to stay at the top. Toto Wolff has said this. And for a team like Ferrari, who, we've had so little for so long, no constructors title since 2008, no drivers since 2007.
Yeah.
The Tifosi deserve better. Like, what next? What if you were in charge? If you're Mr. Ferrari, if you're Enzo, rest in peace, from beyond the grave, what are you doing? Like, what's the next step forward?
I think it has to be like, at least not like a complete overhaul, but there has to be some kind of change at decision level. Whether it be just strategists or the people that are hiring the people that are doing whatever in these big positions, there needs to be some kind of overhaul of some kind. Because the thing is, it's just for Ferrari, it's a multitude of things, it seems, every single weekend in decision making. And like I said before, you can't win a championship of any kind by throwing away more than 3 races in a season.
Yeah.
If you have a good car, they've clearly got competent mechanics and engineers.
Yeah.
They've brought a good car to the table.
That's it.
1,000%. That cannot be on them.
No.
Apart from the engine reliability. But that can't really be on them. But I don't know, decision making, there just needs to be...
Yeah, I mean, again, and it makes sense to build a powertrain that it might blow up, but you can bring reliability related fixes. You can't bring performance improving fixes. So that's fine. I get that. That's fine. But I do wonder as well. Are we giving Ferrari more scrutiny because of what's happened and because they're fighting at the front? Because for example, throwback to for Norris at Russia when things went wrong. That poor decision that McLaren made by not telling Lando to come in, like that doesn't get the same amount of scrutiny if he's in P12. Like Leclerc did the same thing. Yeah. And we don't talk about that because it wasn't a battle for the win. So do you think, like, how much of it do you think is like we're giving more scrutiny to Ferrari because it's Ferrari and they're at the top?
I think there's a level of like, we're giving them scrutiny because they're at the top. Like, I think, to be honest with you, there's been some mad blunders from Alpine this year, strategy-wise. They've got a lot wrong with Alonso. McLaren have struggled at times as well with Ricciardo and Lando and not necessarily extracting the best out of the pace they have and then, producing a result. But also, I just think because it's Ferrari, I think a lot of the time we do like to clown Ferrari because they do have a history of this.
Yeah.
But this is probably some of the worst that I've seen.
It's an easy own goal.
It is,
for us. It just gives us don't give us the ammunition.
Yeah, it's easy bangs on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just is like, at the end of the day, like they're giving us the ammunition. So
it's frustrating.